What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some insane battles in the Open Great League featuring the ultimate flex Pokemon, Triple Legacy Shiny Shadow Machamp. Flexing of course because it's a shiny shadow Pokemon. Machamp loves to flex himself, and as well I've spent 3 elite TMs just to build this Pokemon. Now I'm sure you're all wondering, is it really worth spending 3 elite TMs on a shadow Machamp? Is it going to outperform the standard moveset on the Machamp? Well, let me tell you from a consistency perspective, absolutely not. Counter and cross chop are just so reliable, so much fast move pressure that you can often 2-shield and fully farm down Pokemon even in neutral matchups, and then you can just spam those cross chops or potentially rock slides into those flying types and you're going to be getting those shields back anyways. But with all shields down, this Triple Legacy Shiny Shadow Machamp is an absolutely insane closer, and you're able to hit for super effective damage up against those flying types, those psychic types, those ghost types. It's absolutely ridiculous, and it was so fun to run, but you really do need all shields down because even up against the standard moveset, you'll find that a lot of people are going to be shielding up against a Shadow Machamp. So if you do have it where all shields are still in play, this version of the Machamp does not perform very well at all. So you have to be very careful about how you play the game. So anyways, with that being said, let's get into the question of the day. What's the craziest Pokemon you've ever used an Elite TM on? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so going into the first battle here, we lead Shadow Lugia into Pelipper. Fairly neutral matchup here, but I think we do win it with the Lugia. They say swap into a Galarian Stunfisk, and unfortunately, this is a scenario where it would be so much better if we just had the standard moveset. They actually bait me with a Rock Slide, but luckily for me, they don't even build up to the Earthquake on the second one here, so I can safely no-shield it here. I'm going to farm all the way up to 100 energy, go for the payback. We take out the Stunfisk. They've already seen the payback. Surely they're not going to be expecting a Stone Edge from this Shadow Machamp, so we can safely go for it here. Is my opponent going to respect the damage? No, and we one-shot the Pelipper, and that's probably one of the only games here where I was able to land both nuke charge moves with all shields still in play. Now we still got to deal with a Registeel here, so it's not going to be the easiest matchup here. I'm going to swap into Lugia, force them to throw their energy here, and hopefully the Zap Cannon takes me out, but it barely doesn't, which is not ideal because they're going to be able to lock on farm me down and get a decent amount of energy here, so that's not great for me here. But we do some nice chip damage with the Sky Attack. I'm going to go for a Brutal Swing. We get a shield from the Registeel, and at this point I think it's a little bit too risky if I continuously bait with the Brutal Swing, so I'm just going to go straight for the Overheats from this range. They're actually going to go for a Charge Move here. We will shield it up. Probably going to be a Focus Blast now because that would easily be enough to take us out from this range. We go for the Overheat. My opponent does use their second shield, but I'm able to outpace them to the next charge move, and even quad debuff Overheat is enough to take out the Registeel and take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we're going to be leading into an Abomasnow. Not great. Going to say swap into the Galarian Weezing, and my opponent's actually choosing to stay in here. We can comfortably tank a Weather Ball, no problem, and we're going to farm up to the Overheat, just a little bit over, and go for a Brutal Swing bait. And I really want to get all shields down here, and I'm able to get the first shield from the Abomasnow. Going now for the Overheat. This will easily take them out, so they do double shield, which is perfect. This is going to put up my Shadow Machamp in a prime position to sweep, as I'm also expecting them to swap out fairly soon after I come in here. So I come in here, my opponent does swap out, and that is great. They actually swap into a Luxray here. They're not going to appreciate the Stone Edge damage, and we one-shot the Luxray. They're going to come in with a Water Gun Lantern, so running a double electric team, and also an Ice type in the lead, so they really do not appreciate flyers in this meta. I don't blame them. Flyers are absolutely everywhere. We go for the payback. It does ever so slightly more damage than the Stone Edge here. I'm able to farm down with the Dragon Tails, go for a Sky Attack, and we will be able to take out the Abomasnow and take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game here, we're going to be leading Shadow Lugia into Bastiodon, the worst possible matchup for us here. So we're going to swap into our Galarian Weezing, And at this point, it's probably fairly obvious that they don't have the best response to our Weezing, so I make a massive mistake here, and I choose to go for an overheat before they throw a charge move. This is going to do big damage to the Bastiodon, but unfortunately, it is going to harshly drop my attack, and it basically means that there's no way for me to win this matchup, so I just choose not to shield there, go for another overheat, and this will get the Bastiodon reasonably low. We actually do get a shield here, but what I really want is to flip switch advantage, because they can swap into a Shadow Victory Bell, and I'm forced to swap out here into my Lugia. I don't really want them to get to a charge move, so I go for the Sky Attack straight away. I'm expecting them to come back in with the Bastiodon straight away, and I'm hoping that I can Karate Chop, farm down the Bastiodon here, and then nuke whatever is in the back. So we're going to see what it is, and unfortunately it's a Machamp. We're going to go straight for the payback here. Payback does massive damage here, but unfortunately these Karate Chops just aren't doing enough damage, and they're able to fully farm me down, and I lose that game with both shields remaining there. So I definitely should have played that middle matchup slightly differently there, and made sure I just tried to get any sort of advantage, or like a proper advantage against that Bastiodon, but that's how things go sometimes, unfortunately. We're going to go for a Sky Attack here up against this Mantine, and then probably try and catch the Ice Beam onto my Weezing, and I'm able to do so. Are they going for the Ice Beam this time? Yes, they are, so that's a great catch for me. We're just going to go for the Brutal Swing straight away, take out this Mantine. If they choose to let it go through, which they do, they come in with Registeel, and this is great. We can go for an overheat here, probably going to get a shield from this Registeel, and we are able to, which is really nice for us here. I'm not going to bother throwing the Brutal Swing, there's no point. They go for the charge move, Zap Cannon takes me out. We can come in with the Machamp here. They're actually staying in, which is interesting. They're going to go for a Zap Cannon. They swap into a Medicham here. They lowered my attack, but this payback, going to do big damage to the Medicham here, and this is just going to ensure that I do win this game here. I can go for the Sky Attack. We get the final shield here, and I'm going to put my faith into the Machamp in the back, but they actually go for a Psychic, so probably not even running Ice Punch here, and this is just going to be a Power Punch then, so this still won't be enough to take me out. I'm able to farm them down here. Going to try go for the Aeroblast up against the Registeel, but they do concede the match, which is a bit annoying. I wanted to see how much damage that would do. Probably still wouldn't have taken them out. It is resisted, of course, but it's one of the, well, it is the hardest hitting charge move in the game, so yeah, I would have liked to see that damage there. But anyways, into the next game here, we lead into a Lickitung. We're going to say swap into the Galarian Weezing, and they clearly don't have a great response here, because they swap into a Medicham. We get the first shield here with the Brutal Swing. We can actually tank a charge move from this range, and they actually just go for a Power Punch, which I don't know what they're doing here, but that's definitely not the play here. We can go for another Brutal Swing, and that will easily put them into range where I can just go for an overheat. An overheat is enough to take out the Medicham, so we have switch advantage and shield advantage. They're going to come back in with the Lickitung here, and waiting for them to swap out, they swap into Azumarill. I'm going to go for the Stone Edge. That does massive damage to Azumarill. We're going to go straight for another Stone Edge before they even get to the Ice Beam, and Stone Edge takes out the Azu, and now it's just going to be Machamp up against this Lickitung. Now, I've still got 2 shields remaining. I'm thinking I might as well shield in this matchup here, because these Karate Chops, even though they're not doing massive damage, are still super effective damage. I can then get to the Stone Edge, get the final shield, and Lugia will easily be able to take out the Lickitung from this range, so we should be absolutely fine here. I'm actually going to come in with the Weezing, force them to throw their energy, and yeah, unless we got like the worst lag ever, we're going to be able to take out that Lickitung and take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we're going to lead into a Talonflame. So I'm actually just going to assume that they're going to go for a Flame Charge. They could, of course, go for the Brave Bird, but what I don't want to do is throw on the CMP tie, because if they don't throw there, then they'll get an extra Incinerate through, but very nice play by my opponent. The Brave Bird actually didn't knock us out, so we go for a Sky Attack straight away. They catch it on Cresselia, so very nice play there by my opponent, but we've actually got a pretty good response here, especially when they throw their charge move way too early to be a Future Sight, so I can safely no-shield a Grass Knot, and that is great. We're going to go for a Brutal Swing here. A second Brutal Swing will be enough to take out the Cresselia, so I do slightly over farm here, go for the Brutal Swing, and my opponent is going to let the Cresselia go down. They're going to come back in with the Talonflame here, so I'm going to over farm massively. They need 3 Incinerates to get to the next charge move here. We go for the Brutal Swing just before before they're there, and they're actually going to go for another Incinerate, allowing me to get to a second Brutal Swing. We get the final shield from this Talonflame, and they keep on farming, trying to farm me down, but they're not able to, because I get to another Brutal Swing, and we've got my Shadow Machamp with 2 shields up against a Steelix. There was only going to be one winner there, and I'm able to take that game. So going into the next game here, we lead into a Galarian Stunfisk. Not the best lead. I'm actually going to stay in and hope that they throw straight away, which they do. I don't really know why I did this, to be honest, but we're now going to swap into the Weezing here. They come in with a Mantine, and I'm already recognizing that this is going to be the Zionic line with the Galarian Stunfisk, Mantine, and Pelipper here, so I know exactly what I'm going up against, but I make a massive mistake here, and you saw it up against the Bastiodon. I just didn't choose to shield this Weezing for whatever reason. What I really need to do is just make sure I get all shields down, and I've already got one shield from my opponent here, but at this range, they're actually going to be able to fully wing attack farm me down, which is not ideal at all. We go for another Brutal Swing here. Unfortunately, this won't warrant a shield either, and it does put them low here. I'm actually going to swap into my Lugia here, and we do catch the Ice Beam, so my opponent very smart there, which is unfortunate for me. And now, even though we've got 2 shields remaining, if they've got a Pelipper in the back, then they're just going to be able to fully wing attack farm me down, and there's no reason for this Pelipper not to shield here. So Stone Edge does go shielded, and at this point I don't even know why I'm shielding. There's no way I'm getting to another charge move, and they're actually going to swap into the Stunfisk and farm me down there. So yeah, not a very good play by me. We can see that with 1 shield left in play from my opponent, unfortunately the Shadow Machamp is just useless, but if all shields were down there, then Machamp would have been absolutely fine. We're going to swap here into a Galarian Weezing. My opponent baits us with a Rock Slide, which is nice. We're now going to go for our own bait, go for the Brutal Swing, and hopefully we get a shield, and we're even able to get to the Overheat here, and this will do massive damage to the Stunfisk, and at this point we've got a shield advantage. It's looking pretty good for us here. They should go for another Rock Slide here, maybe undercharge that, but it doesn't matter. I'm able to Karate Chop, farm them down. They're going to come in with a Powder Snow, Alola Ninetales. We're going to use a shield in this matchup. They go for a Weather Ball, of course. They're now going to swap into Defense Form Deoxys. I'm going for that Payback, and Payback does huge damage here. I'm going to swap, catch the Psycho Boost. Unfortunately, not quite able to farm them down here, but Psycho Boost is, of course, resisted. I'm able to farm down the Deoxys now, and Shadow Lugia is very bulky. We're going to be able to tank a Weather Ball here and barely get to the Sky Attack, and this will either get a shield or put them into range where I can farm them down with Karate Chops. It's just going to be a race. Can they get to the back-to-back moves? If they're there now, it doesn't matter. The damage from Karate Chop went through, and I'm able to take out the Ninetales there and take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we lead into another Pelipper lead, and we are just going to stay in here, and they're going to throw just before my Sky Attack. Very nice timing here, but I know that that's not going to be a Hurricane, so I can safely no-shield it. We're going to come in with the Shadow Machamp here, and we're going to have to shield this Focus Blast, but luckily they do go for a Focus Blast here, so it's not going to be enough to, or it's not going to lower my attack here. We're going to go for the Payback, take out the Registeel, and can we get a repeat of one of those earlier games here, going for the Stone Edge here? No, and it does get shielded, unfortunately, but they do not commit to the full farm down, which is fortunate for me, because I think I barely just wasn't going to get to the next Stone Edge, so that is ideal. I'm going to come back in with my Lugia. They've got a Galarian Stunfisk in the back. I'm just going to go straight for the Overheat here. Either we get the final shield, or we do huge damage, and I'm able to do massive damage there. And at this point, I can safely no-shield the Weezing. They do go for the Earthquake. It takes me out. But at this point, I'm going to hope that I can fully Dragon Tail farm down this Galarian Stunfisk. I know the Pelipper does have a little bit of energy, but they don't have a Hurricane loaded, so this is just going to be a Weather Ball. We should live it, and as long as they don't have 2 Weather Balls, which I don't think they do, we should be able to get off both Sky Attacks. First one gets a shield, the second one is going to be enough to take out the Pelipper from this range, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to my opponent there. Into the next game, we're going to lead Lugia into a Shadow Drapion. Not a great lead here. Going to try and catch the crunch onto my Galarian Weezing, but my opponent doesn't throw straight away. Very good disciplined by my opponent. They're actually going to go for a Sludge Bomb. That is kind of nice because it means that they're probably not running Aqua Tail. We're going to go for a Brutal Swing first and then eventually go for the Overheat here on the CMP tie with this Medicham, and Overheat nearly takes out the Medicham. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite. And I'm just going to let the Ice Punch go through here. So, not really sure about that play there, but we're going to come in with the Lugia, Dragon Tail, farm them down. I'm going to swap into my Machamp here, and they do come back in with the Drapion. They choose not to throw. We're going to go for the payback here, and hopefully they let us go through, but because we're a Shadow Machamp, of course they're going to shield it. So unfortunately, when all shields are in play, Shadow Machamp with the triple legacy moveset, it's kind of useless. So here we're going to come in with the Lugia and just commit to the full Dragon Tail farm down once again. We will have to shield this last Hydro Cannon, but they won't get to another one, and we will have a ton of energy loaded to throw into this Drapion. And once again, we've built up to the back-to-back Sky Attacks. First one gets the shield, second one is actually going to be a CMP tie here, but that's fine. We can safely shield up the Crunch, and the second Sky Attack will easily be enough to take out the Drapion from this range, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we're going to be leading Shadow Lugia into a Galarian Stunfisk. So it's going to swap into my Galarian Weezing here, and my opponent's staying in. We're going to go for a Brutal Swing here, baiting the Overheat. We did farm up to it, and we do get a shield from my opponent. And at this point, am I going to shield it up? Yes, I am, and it's actually an Earthquake, so very good shield from me. I can now overfarm a decent amount here, go for the Overheat, and Overheat does get the final shield from my opponent, so things are looking good. This is exactly the position I want to be in, but they actually bait me with a Rock Slide here. So now I'm going to go for an Overheat on the CMP tie with the next Rock Slide, and we do manage to land it. Of course, they've got no shields remaining, and as well, they're in a decent range for me to farm down with my Shadow Machamp here and get a ton of energy to throw into the next Pokemon that comes in. They barely get to a Rock Slide. It's not going to do that much damage. They're actually going to swap here into a Altaria. We land the Stone Edge, it does massive damage. I'm now able to farm them down with my Lugia here. They've got a Shadow Dragonite. This is going to be the Jonkus, Stunfisk, and double Dragon Flying team. We take out the Dragonite, and we're able to take out the Stunfisk there and take that game. And I'm pretty sure I did this battle literally like 10 minutes after Jonkus's video went live, so I hadn't seen the video yet, but that just shows you his insane influence on the Go Battle League meta. Here I've got a bonus clip here because I changed my lead, and you see that my 2-turn fast moves are actually taking 3 turns to be completed. I've heard people complaining about this bug in the past. I've never actually seen it and never experienced it myself, but here we are experiencing it here, and it is really annoying. I literally couldn't work out what was going on here for ages, but I've realized now, looking back, that my fast moves were lasting 1 turn longer than they should have been here, so certainly not ideal. We're going to shield a Hydro Cannon here. Hopefully I can farm them down before the Swampert gets to another Hydro Cannon, but we are of course at a massive disadvantage because we are so much slower than we're supposed to be. Unfortunately, we don't get the farm down. They've got the Mantine in the lead there, so yeah, there's nothing I can do here unfortunately, and I'm just going to concede the match there. So don't really know what happened, but yeah, very strange bug indeed. And into the final bonus battle of this video, we're leading into a Mew here, and once again we're leading with this Shadow Gliscor. I'm going to let the Surf go through, we should tank it, and I should be able to get to back-to-back Night Slashes before this Mew gets to another charge move or farms me down, which is perfectly fine with me. I'm now going to go for the second Night Slash here, and this will do big damage or get a shield. We get a shield here, and we are farmed down, but that is fine. I'm going to come in with my Galarian Weezing. I'm going to respect the damage. They could have Psyshock or Psychic. They actually go for a Stone Edge, very interesting. I'm able to get to the Brutal Swing here. Brutal Swing takes out the Mew. And they've got a Galarian Stunfisk in the back, so they're going to swap into their Altaria, and we've got the Stone Edge. You guys already know that this Stone Edge is going to do absolutely massive damage to the Altaria. One more Karate Chop takes them out here, and I should be able to shield this up and then get to the payback to take out this Galarian Stunfisk, and we barely get there, and this payback is going to be enough to take out the Galarian Stunfisk, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, then make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on post notifications so that way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. I also want to mention that I have some more battles with the triple legacy shiny Shadow Machamp, but I also ran it alongside a double Nukes Lucario, so let me know if you'd like to see those battles in the future. I may upload them once the Great League does come back around at the latter half of the season. But with that being said, let's get into the shoutouts from my previous video. So firstly, we got the Shadow Master himself, Jamie Finn 1415, who says, landing them big booms, hashtag I'm not baiting, and I couldn't agree more. There's no better feeling than landing a nuke charge move when your opponent doesn't shield it, and that's sort of the theme for today's video, so I just had to give him a shout out here. Next we got Chris JK, who says, for me it's getting a successful sack swap when it's your only win con. That was a bit of a tongue twister there, successful sack swap, but yeah, anyways, maximum enjoyment, and you can see Zionic appreciates that because we've got an automated boom response there from YouTube, so yeah, definitely a satisfying feeling. And finally we've got Sanduranga Siriwardana. I'm absolutely sure I've butchered your name, so I'm sorry about that, but they said that it's the only way for me to get rare candies, charge TMs, fast TMs, legendaries, etc. since I don't do raids, but I do enjoy playing Go Battle League too. I always get hyped when I want a pretty close match and really frustrated when losing, of course. Now, I also don't really raid an awful lot, so for me it's also pretty much the only way for me to get rare candies, charge TMs and all that sort of stuff as well, so I can understand why that might be the sole focus for some people for playing Go Battle League. So with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.